Hi, I'm Hayes.
And I'm Layla.
And we're blind. I bet you didn't see that one coming.
Because we didn't either. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Didn't see that coming. I'm Layla.
And I'm Hayes.
And today we are talking about high school as blind people.
Yeah, high school's definitely got its good moments, its bad moments, its fun moments, its embarrassing moments. You do definitely get plenty of those as blind people, but, you know, there are definitely a lot of great things, and us blind people are definitely as capable of getting through high school as sighted people. But I bet you've got a lot of questions, how we even get through our day, how we're able to do things like classwork.
So a lot of blind people do assignments in virtual formats, especially now with a lot of technology. There are things called screen readers, which read the screen to us. It's text to speech, if you know anything about that. There are things called braille displays, which have almost virtual braille, I want to say. Those will be covered in a future episode, probably. But a lot of people do virtual assignments, especially now, and especially in middle and high school.
Yeah, because Layla talked about braille displays, but the actual machine that makes like physical braille, it's called a brailler. It looks like a typewriter, but first off, it's heavy and annoying to bring from class to class. But secondly, it is really loud.
Like very loud.
Like, it distracts me, and I'm using it, so I can't even imagine how the people beside me are feeling. So, yeah, that's why most people now do things with technology so they can actually carry it from class to class and not completely disrupt everyone in the room.
So with technology is teacher adaptation and accommodation of lessons. Now, we all know teachers can make or break a class, and especially when you're blind, teachers can make or break your experience with their willingness to adapt, their willingness to accommodate, how much they use visual resources in general. Is a really big thing. And I've had great teachers and not great teachers, but adaptation is a really big thing for blind people.
For sure. And there is a lot that I'm able to do by myself to help accommodate, especially with technology and like artificial intelligence and all that stuff. There's a lot that I can do. But one of the biggest things that teachers need to do for me is just make sure. So I have a teacher for the visually impaired, also called a TVI, but, her job is basically to make things accessible for me. Like, that's what she gets paid for. And so, the teacher doesn't even have to do all that stuff on their own. A big thing they can do is send it to her, and she'll make whatever assignment it is accessible for me. And so there are a lot of teachers that think that's great and are totally willing to use it, but there are also some teachers that don't. I've definitely walked into a classroom and been handed a paper before. And I'm like, yeah, this really isn't going to work. It's just like a sheet of paper to me. A blank sheet of paper. Can't do it.
Also, especially teachers that so teachers are great if they have a set curriculum, if they know what they're doing, if they know what they're talking about. Teachers who are not willing to deviate at all from that curriculum sometimes can be frustrating, especially if the curriculum is visual and if it is hard to be adapted. So teachers, adaptation, accommodation, visuals, TVI assistance can definitely make or break a class.
And it's like, I definitely, if I was a teacher, wouldn't know how to just make everything accessible. So the biggest thing a teacher can do to help a blind student is talk to them. Like, say, hey, I'm kind of worried about this assignment. Like, how can I make it work for you? Because we've likely had an assignment like that in the past. And, we can tell you, how to do it. And we may come up with ideas that you may not. But teachers may also come up with ideas that I've never came up before. Like, this year we did one of those things where you have, like, prompts posted around the wall.
Like a gallery walk?
Yes. And, like, you have to, like, answer, like, questions, right?
So a gallery walk.
Yes, Layla. Yes. But so my, in, like, past experience, my classes have done it, and I've just kind of, like, walked around really awkwardly trying to, like, one hand, like, my braille device. And it doesn't really work. But my teacher this year came up with the idea to give me a cart to put my technology on so I could wheel it around and still read the braille. Which was great because it made a really stressful assignment, something that I was actually fully able to participate in. And so, teachers like that are able to problem solve are great, but, they don't have to do it alone. Us blind students are willing to help, come up with solutions with you. And so are the TVIs, so.
TVIs will also probably be covered in a future episode.
Yes, probably.
So, we know that high school is probably, I'm going to make an estimate here, maybe 40% max classes and 60% or over social. So let's talk about the social aspect. Friends, unfriends, all the things. So definitely as a blind person, you get put in some awkward situations with friends, but there can also be some great friends and some great people. I, for one, have a friend who I sit with at lunch, and there was one time that he looked at me totally seriously and asked me if driver's ed was hard. And as a blind person, I cannot drive. He knew I was blind. I have known this kid for at least 2 years, probably over 2 years. And he asked me very seriously if driver's ed was hard, and I looked at him and told him that it was one of the hardest things he'd ever do, and that he would struggle. And we had a more than 2-minute conversation about it before he realized who he was talking to. And so I love people like that who forget I'm blind, can laugh about it afterward, and just see me as me and not the blind kid.
Exactly. But, there definitely are awkward interactions and situations you'll be placed in as the only blind person in a classroom. Like, presentations are awkward for everyone, but it's triple times the awkward whenever you have a braille paper and you don't have enough space for it. So you kind of forget that putting it on your computer and moving it around will press keys. And so you're reading on top of your computer, and then your teacher has to interrupt you mid-slide to let you know that it started skipping slides because, obviously you're blind. You can't see that. And, then I just had to awkwardly hold the paper off of the table. And, but the whole class just saw that happen. So definitely moments like that. But also...
embarrassing? Sorry.
Yeah. But also definitely great moments and, great friends who, would laugh about that with you, not at you.
I think especially this year, I found a lot of people who don't see me as the blind kid, but just see me as me and see my blindness as an integral part of me, but also a part that they can forget. I have had multiple friends this year, multiple friends in the past 3 months, actually, send me pictures. And while there is AI technology that can describe pictures to you, which may be featured in another episode, probably. There have been multiple people that have sent me pictures, and I have texted them back and said, I'm blind. Also, blindness and texting will also probably be covered in the next episode, or a future episode. Probably. But people like that are great.
Yeah, definitely are. And then one other big thing that people are always very curious about is how we get around the school, because high schools are big and sometimes very confusing for the sighted people.
Mobility. Sighted people get lost in high schools all the time. Blind people get lost a lot as well. I don't want to say more because I'm not sure about that. I have no proof. But I've gotten lost a lot. There definitely, there was a time where I was carrying a table that was going under a keyboard for a jazz gig that was not at our school. And I was taking it out to my mom's car, and she was parked outside of a door that was outside of our theater. And to access that door, you have to go backstage. And I think anyone who's been backstage of a theater knows that there is stuff everywhere. There are props, and there are people, and there is furniture that have been used for shows. There are at least 3 couches back there. And so I was going back there and trying to find this door, and I knew kind of where it was, but not really. So I have the table in one hand and the cane in the other. And I ended up walking into the backstage dance room, like the room where we practice dancing, with mirrors full of people. So that was embarrassing. And then I had to reroute and go out the other door, and I finally found my mom's car, but it took me very long to get that table out there, and that would not have happened if I could see and could have seen that the dance room door was not an outside door, in fact, but a door to a classroom full of people.
Sounds like an adventure.
It was interesting. But then I got the table to the car and we played the gig, and
nice job,
it was
Layla.
great. Yeah.
Nice job.
So mobility can be a challenge.
Well, let me just go ahead and, because you mentioned cane. For listeners that don't know what that is, that's basically the red and white stick that you may see blind people. You may see a blind person sweeping around. So, it's a long stick. It can definitely be a tripping hazard. Has been numerous times.
It also parts the seas. When people see that cane coming, they jump out of my way, and it makes me laugh and also makes me not have to get through crowds.
Yeah.
So if you see a cane, get out of the way. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's not a laser.
I'll get out of the way, but I'm also like not intentionally trying to hit you with it. So keep calm.
Actually, never mind. We're not going to talk about
Layla.
Sorry. No, that's mostly a middle school thing. I mean, sometimes I hit people if they're in my way and they're making me mad, but they're mostly people that I call friends, so it's all right.
Yeah. But you actually, when you're using a cane, you actually have to intentionally use it. Once I decided that I was going to stop laughing.
Sorry.
Once I decided that I was going to walk to class on autopilot and turn too early. So I ran into the edge of a door, like the corner, where it's sharp. And unbeknownst to me, I cut myself and I was bleeding, but it wasn't like gushing yet, so I didn't feel it. And then I was just walking to class because I wasn't going to freak out in the hallway. And then my sweet teacher stops me and is like, "Hazer, are you okay?" And I was like, yeah, I'm good. And then she was like, "No, you're bleeding. I'm going to walk you to the nurse right now." So I did have to leave school early and get my forehead glued just because I wasn't paying attention and ran into a door. Fun day.
So that's why we use our canes. Sometimes my middle school or high school. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm in high school, guys. I still feel like a middle schooler. I'm a middle schooler at heart. One. Thank you. Anyways, Thank you. In my high school, we have the double doors with the poles in the middle, and the amount of times that I run into those a day from not using my cane is too many to say and show my face on here again. So using your cane is great. Not using it has consequences.
And listen, like, not all blind people are actually running into stuff, but me and Layla aren't known to be the most responsible people. And, we're definitely kind of clumsy.
I agree.
This isn't, it's kind of a universal blind person thing, but also, it's kind of also just us.
Well, we're teenagers. Teenagers are not known for being the most non-lazy people ever. So if you see us running into stuff, it's fine. Or if you see any blind person running into stuff, it's probably fine. It's probably because they're being lazy, or maybe they're just blind.
Obviously, if they're actually hurt, don't be like, "Oh,
they're fine.
They're blind." But, if we just casually bump something, people think that it's a really big deal when, we're used to it.
Yeah, I had a teacher, I ran into a table on accident, and she asked me if I walked around every day with a bunch of bruises on my legs from running into things, because she just thought I ran into things all the time, which I guess I sometimes do. But she was like, "You poor thing for running into all these things, and you must have so many bruises on your legs." And I was just like, "No, not really. It's not that bad." So yeah, blindness does not equal a somewhat like helplessness or lack of awareness. That's not what we're trying to say, just that we run into things. Yeah.
And then there are, though, some universal mobility struggles, like walking in a straight line.
Oh my gosh. We have a courtyard in our school with sidewalks that are covered by awnings, and the awnings are held up by poles throughout, like every 5, 6, 7 feet. There's a pole holding up the awning on either side of the sidewalk, and it's mostly straight sidewalk. Well, I can't walk in a straight line on a given day, but especially when I'm cold. So mornings walking through that courtyard, I will be walking on the sidewalk and fall off of it into the grass because I can't walk in a straight line. And there will be random people behind me that I don't know that I can feel judging. I can feel the judgment on the back of my neck from them looking at me.
Okay, but what I want to know, Layla, is like, why is it established that whenever it's cold, when it's harder?
Because when I'm cold, I'm thinking about being cold, and I'm thinking about how I hate that it's cold, and I hate that I'm cold, and I hate that I'm shivering, and I just want to be inside where it's not cold, and I want to be warm again. When it's warm, I'm just warm and chill, and I can think about left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, walk in a straight line.
But then why aren't you thinking about it being hot outside?
Because cold is worse. I'd rather be hot than cold.
I disagree with you on that statement, but we'll agree to disagree on
Okay. Disrespectfully, I agree to disagree with you.
Great.
So yeah, mobility is a struggle, but it can also be, it's not terrible,
as bad as you think.
Yes, it's a struggle, but it's not as much of a struggle. Mobility will probably be covered in a future episode.
Probably.
So to end this episode from all of our negative and hilarious looking back, but not funny in the moment stories, I think we should do something positive and talk about our favorite parts of high school. Hayes, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sounds great. So I would say the most positive thing for me about being in high school is the people that I've gotten to meet. So not even just friends, even though I have met some amazing friends who blindness has never been an issue with. It's the teachers that I've been able to interact with. I once had a teacher offer to stay after with me and help me with my schedule because it had changed recently. And so I had mentioned to her that it was kind of crazy with my new schedule and I wasn't certain on where to go yet. And so she offered her own unpaid time to stay and help me because she knew it was a struggle for me. And I did have someone who was paid to help with that who I was already going to work with. So it wasn't necessary at the time. But her offering to do something like that meant a lot and is something I never forget.
Wow, that's a great answer. You honestly stole my answer. I was going to say the people too, more friendship than teachers, but we got to be original. So I would say one of my favorite parts has been the freedom that we get in high school. I don't know if I've walked in a line this whole year. And middle school, of course, elementary school, you walk in a line everywhere. And being the line leader is a great honor. And I did get to be the line leader sometimes.
Nice, Layla.
I know, I was a line leader kid. But even in middle school, we walked in lines sometimes, even though not all the time. But I don't know if I've walked in a line this whole year of high school. And also, there's a lot more trust that's put in you. I definitely know kids that have been skipping class. It's a lot easier to skip class.
Are you sure you're not one of those kids, Layla?
There's
some hesitation there.
So, anyways, moving on. Sorry guys, science is boring. I liked my science class this year. But there's a lot of freedom. Another example is when it's nice outside, the courtyard with the poles and the straight lines also has picnic tables, and we're allowed to eat lunch out there.
To eat outside?
Yeah, we are allowed to eat outside.
Lucky.
Okay, so apparently Hayes doesn't have that freedom, but me and my friends, when it's sunny outside, we'll go eat lunch outside in the sun, and it's very nice. So I love having that freedom to just be treated more like an adult, so that's been a great part of high school as well.
Yep, high school is hard. High school can definitely be great, but
high school's blindsided me, if we're being honest.
But we're definitely all getting through it, even the blind kids, so you've got this.
Thank you guys for watching. This is Didn't See That Coming, signing off.
We won't see you later.